G'day, welcome to This Is Riffin'. Today we're going to look at Demon Cleaner by Kyuss. This is definitely just more of a guide for you, so it's not 100% correct as always. Josh likes to do 2 guitar tracks sometimes. That makes it a bit tricky to make it perfect as well. That also makes it pretty tricky for the solo at the end, which definitely has 2 different parts going on, but I've tried as best as I can to work out both bits for you. And with a lot of my videos, I always bang on about the feel and how important it is with Josh's playing. So I've just interpreted it the way that I hear it as best as possible. But if you follow the tabs, you should be able to play with the album version pretty well. I've also used a bit of the live footage that I could find, which is not much of getting about. But this definitely helped with some of the parts and just a bit with the fingers that Josh uses. As is the case for most Kyuss songs, this song's tuned to C standard, which goes like this: C, F, A sharp, D sharp, G, and C. But I'll probably just refer to it in standard tuning just to make it a little bit easier. So E, A, D, G, B, and E. So the intro starts off at 0-0 on the D string, and then 12-10 on the G, with a little vibrato there, then 12-10 again, back to 12. And for most of this bit, it looks like Josh uses his first and second finger, but by all means you could use your third and first there, whatever works best. And so yeah, after you do the 12, you go to 14, and then you do a hammer on to 15, pull off to 14, and then a 12, 14 on the G, and then finish with a 12 on the D. So yeah, that little hammer on bit is a bit like that. It sounds almost like on the album there's a bend there, which you could definitely do as well, but on that live clip it definitely looks like Josh is doing a hammer on pull off. So yeah, I'll do that a bit slower. So you're going to do that 3 times. And then it's this last one where you're going to do pretty much the same thing to start it off. 0-0 on the D, 12-10 on the G, 12-10 again, then a 12. It's just this little tail end of it, where it's 14 on the G, 15-14 as a pull-off 3 times. So 15-14, 15-14, 15-14. So you're only strumming that once when you do those pull-offs. And definitely Josh loves to throw those vibratos in there as well. So I'll just do that little last section again for you. And I sort of pick off the notes every so often. You could get away like not strumming at all if you wanted as well, but a bit more impact when you do hit those certain notes. We then get to the Sweet As verse riff, and I've seen a lot of different interpretations of this. I'm going to go by the live clip I saw of Josh doing it, and I'll also give you another idea of potentially what you could do, which works well with the album, especially if there's the 2 guitar tracks going on where one might be doing an octave higher and the other track doing a lower one for the slide sort of bit. So either way will work really cool, but the first way I think is probably the most accurate, but please leave a comment if you have any other ideas there. That version I just played there is in line with what it looks like Josh is doing on the live stuff, or as close as I can get to it. But I also did 2 different versions of it just because of how it sounds on the album as well. And it's only a little minor bit there, just with the D string instead of going to 7 on the G. But yeah, playing that either way, you can't go wrong. So this version starts at 0-0 on the D string with a 5-7 hammer on. And then what I actually do is I bar the 7 on the G to go straight after that. And you can definitely hear that note on the album there. And then it's this bit here that sounds most like what Josh is doing on the live stuff, where he plays 7 on the G and open on the D at the same time. And then you're going to slide up to 10 on the G. And I like to use my 3rd finger there and then go to my 2nd for the slide. So that gets played 3 times, which I'll just do now a bit slower for you. You get to this bit, which is really cool. So that just finishes off with a 0-0-5-7 as a hammer on. And it's this little bit here that I played 2 different ways for you. So you can do an open on the D and then another open on the D. So open, open, 5-7 as a hammer on, open, open, open 5-7 again as a hammer on, and then 8. Yeah, so that little bit there again. And so it's a real quick movement, that sounds. You could also get away not even doing it all as a hammer on with 1 strum. You could actually strum the open and then 5-7 as a hammer on. So it sounds a bit like that, which is a bit easier to manage rather than doing it all as a hammer on, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's the first way you could do it, and it's just that open on the D. Whereas the second way I played it was more like this. And all I did there was go to the 7. And then finish it off the same. So again, I hope that makes sense. On the album, it's possible Josh is actually doing both of those together, because I can hear this 7 sometimes and then sometimes I can't, which is just an open. But that's just me getting super fussy there. Just quickly, I'll give you another way that you could possibly play it. I've seen a few other dudes do something similar to this, which sort of just bases around a power chord, like so. So 5-5 on the A, 5-7 as a hammer on the D, and then again that 7 on the G. And then you can do a 5 to 8 as a slide, which is that octave lower of the 7/10 bit, which is possible what Josh did on the album. I'm not 100% on that. I'm going to go more likely what Josh does on the live stuff, with Scott's bass on the album possibly countering that, but I could be completely wrong there. So yeah, that's just another way you can do it yourself, which sounds cool as well. After the first verse, we get this cool little melody solo type thing going on, which is open, open on the D, 10-8 on the G, and you can't hurt by throwing in vibratos whenever you want there, and then does 10-8-10 on the G, and 2 opens on the D, 10-8 again, 10-8-10, and then you get open, open on the D, 7-8 is a hammer on, and then 7 as vibrato. 2 quick opens on the D, then another 7 vibrato. So you do that bit twice. And then you repeat the 10/8 bit. One more round of that, and then the little tail end is open on the D, and then 7/8 as a hammer on the G 6 times. So yeah, you play that bit quite fast, which you could slide out of as well. So I'd recommend using your first and second finger for the 7 and 8 hammer on for sure. Something like that. You'll run through the verse again, and then after that time, it goes back to that intro riff again. So I won't cover that bit too much, but the second time though, it does do this instead, which is like what you did on the intro, but it just comes in a bit quicker. And then you repeat the first bit again. And then you'll finish it off with a 12/14 on the G. I like to use my first and second for that, by the way. 12/14, 13 on the B, and then you're going to bend 15 up nice and high. And this is where the double layering of the guitar tracks come into play. So you can get away just doing a 15 bends, hold it, and then more 15 bends, or something like that. But yeah, a bit tricky to pull off with just the one guitar. At the 2:32 mark, after the third verse, I think, it goes into this little octave bit, which is 7 on the G and open on the D. And I'm just playing that as best as what sounds to me. So open and 7 together, and then open on the D. So you're just alternating between them with vibratos on the 7. And then you finish off by going to 5. So yeah, I think it's 7 7s and then a 5. So you're going to play that 4 times all up. You can always add in extra strums here as well, which works cool. Has a bit more impact that way. And then it gets to this little bit here, which gets played 8 times. So that bit's getting played when Scott starts his little run up, playing the chorus type riff to come. So yeah, that's just again 7 on the G, open on the D, alternating between the two of them, with the open on the D. But you just finish that off with a real punchy sort of 2 of them. Or similar to that effect, but yeah, 8 times that gets played. This bit here again works around the open on the D and the 7 on the G, and you just sort of alternate between strumming them both or just playing the 7 or just the open on the D. And you're going to bend the 4th one up and down, then you go to 5 on the G 4 times, bend that one, then to 3, open 3, open 3, open 5 just once, and then back to 7. And you stomp the last 2. And so here it sort of helps to really emphasize that 7 on the G and the 5 and the 3, but it works well just strumming the D string as well continuously throughout that bit too. So you can either do strums, which works cool, but I think it works best occasionally just going back and forth between the 2 of them, and then strumming a few as you go along. And then stomp those last 2 to restart. So that gets played 3 times. The chorus again is open to interpretation because Josh has his own little groove going on in each section, and it sort of changes every single time. So what I've given you there is just a rough guide to go by. So as long as you're hitting those power chord notes at 5, 3, and 1 on the A string, you can't go wrong. But each time it's just that little bit different. So the first one has a sort of feel like, or something to that effect, almost like the little melody thing you're doing before it. So you got 5 and 7 on the A and the D as a power chord, and then to 3, and then to 1, slide to 3, slide to 5, and then finish on the 5. So in that first one, I just put down 4 lots of each, the 5 and the 3, because you could just play it like, which will be in time with the song. So you can keep it straight like that if you wanted, and then spruce it up with a few extra strums here. So I didn't put down the exact number I was doing because again, I'm just sort of playing by the feel, as always. The second one starts introducing an open on the A, and you can whip that in there wherever you sort of want. So it's 5 as a power chord, then an open on the A. Down to 3, 1, 3, 5, and then the opens. So it's very similar feel to the first one, except those opens are thrown in there. Yeah, or something to that effect. The third one again is pretty similar to that last one we just played, but it's possible with the 2 guitar tracks. One's doing the same, going down like we just did, but this one you can actually work your way sort of back up. So same thing with those opens on the 5, or with the 5, but instead of going to 3, you can go up to 7 as a power chord, then down to 1, to 3, and then up to 10 as a power chord. So those numbers there, I haven't put them down the exact amount of times to strum them, but I'll just sort of play what I sort of roughly do for that bit. Also, for these power chords, you can definitely beef it up if you wish by adding the extra note on top. So you got your 5 and 7, but add a 5 on top too, and you gives it that grunt. Which I've always loved those sort of chords. But I just gave you just the straight up power chords because I think that's what Josh is actually doing there, but could be wrong. We then get to the mighty solo section of the song, and I'm going to split this up into the 2 different guitar tracks as best as I can. And I can't stress enough, it's just a guide here. I'm not going to play this exactly like Josh does, and I'm not going to play along with the song either, so I'll split some of the sections into their own parts, and then I'll also try and explain along the way as best as I can some little tips for you. So the feel and the groove, it's not going to be 100% like the album, but as long as you hit these notes or the numbers that I've put down there and play it with the song, you should be pretty good, I think. I definitely just want to mention that I don't consider myself a solo guitarist much at all. I'm normally more about the riffs, but for some of these, I've tried my best here to hear those notes. So if it helps in any way, that's the main thing. The ending of that one definitely isn't right, but that's a bit of a rough idea of what he's doing there. Fades out. At 4:05, you can't go wrong just playing 14 on the G. Josh is doing his own little sort of rhythm there with it. But yeah, as long as you're hitting that note, you'll be fine. The fast little bit here gets played 11 times, and so for that bit, use your first on 13 on the B, hammer onto 15, and pull off the 13 again. So that's just in one movement. And then you slam down 14 on the G. And I think I like to do an up strum for the B string there and a down for the G. So up, down, down. Which will give you that speed for that bit. Which sort of, it cruises into that 15 bend there, so it's a bit hard to pull that off extra smooth for you. As I mentioned before, the ending of this part isn't correct. It's a bit tricky to hear exactly what's going on with the 10, 11, 12 bit, but yeah, sort of play around those notes there and it fits in fairly well. At 4:34, this bit here I didn't demonstrate that great. I was using 2 fingers to do that sort of move, but I know Josh, he likes doing that Jimmy type move where you catch the other string with one finger and you get that sort of funny sound. My fingers just aren't quite big enough to pull that off at that spot there. But yeah, that's roughly what he's doing. That does it 16 times before going into the outro bit. Okay, let's try the second track. And then it just fades out. At the start of the second track, I'm pretty confident with most of these notes here. With those little bends. I was sort of flicking around different fingers there, but if you can get to the 14 at the end of it, 14 with your second finger, then your first finger for the 13, which allows you to bend that 15 with your third finger on the B. So that's just at the little tail end of that section there, which gets played twice through. So at 444, you have this sort of bend where it goes up and down again. And then 13, 15, 13 is a hammer-on pull-off with one strum. 14 on the G, back to the 13. 14, 12, 10. And then again, it does that little catch move with the bend, which I can pull off a bit easier on this bit rather than the other bit, which was a bit trickier. But so you get that cool, that sound, which Josh uses quite a bit throughout his solos. But yeah, I really love that. And it does that move quite a few times coming up as well. 453, you have this fast move. 12-10 as a pull off. I like to use my third to my first there. And 12 on the D, back to the 10. And the picking sort of pattern for that I like to use is just down, down, up for that last 10. Down, down, up. But that's just how I do it. Which allows me to get that faster, smoother speed going on. Well, that was quite a mission, that one. As always, if you've got any questions, please leave a comment below. But it's such a ripper of a track. And yeah, I hope it helps in some way. And I'll see you soon. Bye.